Starting take two in 3, 2, 1, go! You know what? Hold on, Ronnie. Let me check something here. Let me check the weather on my iPod Touch. It's a great app. Let's see here. 73 degrees right now. It's going to be 70 tomorrow. We got... Oh, it's going to be 80 on Saturday. Very cool.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be doing a show. Welcome to Take Two, everybody, right here on the Voices on the Net Network. Appreciate having all of you tuning into the program. Ronnie and I are back for more. I was just checking my iPod Touch. The damn distractions these things are. I'm telling you, these tech products that we have, they cause more problems than... I'm just kidding. They really don't. But apparently, companies think they do. Yeah, we're going to get into something very interesting where tech distractions apparently cause companies millions of dollars in losses per year. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But before getting into that, we'll, of course, have Ronnie make this episode official. It is yet another episode of Take Two. How are you, Ronnie?
I am nice and cool over here.
Really?
And I don't have an app for that.
Yeah. Well, you don't have an app because you don't have a smartphone or you do have a computer,
no, mine's
though.
dumb.
You don't have an iPod Touch either. But you do have a computer, though. You have a shiny new computer,
right.
though. So, yeah, I think that's enough for Ronnie for now. But yeah. Well, anyhow, glad to be here. We'll have you make this episode official. I know you do that at the beginning of every episode, so we'll have you do that in just a moment. But if I get this out of the way first, excuse me, if all of you tuned in right now would be so kind, would you please visit www.vonthenet.com. That is right, the Voices on the Net Network's website, where you will be able to find, you the listeners will be able to find more information pertaining to the network. Also in thorough detail, all you need to do is go up to the About link at the top of the website. You click that link at the top where you will reach a web page providing you everything you need to know pertaining to the network in thorough detail. Now, you can also check out podcasts of any of the episodes. Ooh, my loud voice cracked there. Podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, and they're all available on demand for and at your very own convenience. Just a great abundance of content at the website. Seriously. Check it out. Check it out. I think you'll like it. www.vonthenet.com. All right, Ronnie. So... we have a lot to talk about, and we might as well get to it, but not before you do your part by making it official. I know you look forward to that, or hopefully you do. I know I do. But yeah, that's a very important part of the show. So why don't you do the honors?
I'm so important. I feel important today, JJ.
You feel important today, but not any other day. Interesting.
We are on episode 266, just to add to those spectacular podcasts.
Episode number 266. Well, welcome to the show, Ronnie. And you know what? We do it's when we do the show, we have to, I don't want to say act out, but we have to find things to talk about clearly, but it's so much more than that. It's finding things to say during the beginning of every episode of every show. That's the challenge, I think. Finding things to talk about, that's second nature. We do that all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's saying the exact same things at the beginning of every episode, and that's the challenge, in my opinion, trying to find something new to say. I don't want to necessarily say the same thing every time at the beginning of every show. It's like, oh my goodness, because we do these shows the one after the other. It's not as listeners have to wait a week for the show. It's every day, Monday through Friday. So it becomes an everyday thing to the listeners that have to listen and to the same thing over and over again. So trying to change it up is definitely a challenge, but we definitely do our best, of course, to do that for all of you and so forth. But Ronnie, how are you?
Oh, I am doing all right, sitting in my nice little squeaky little chair. But I had a little incident before the show.
What happened?
Do people get choked on water? Because I was sitting here nice and
Do
calmly,
people
minding
get
my own
choked on
business.
water? Do people choke on water?
And yeah, because I did.
You
So I've
choked on
gone through
water.
2 changes before the show even started.
So you basically had your bottled water next to you, and
Yeah.
it overwhelmed your mouth.
Apparently.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's happened to me before. You know, it goes. People always say that the food or the liquid goes down the wrong pipe, and I'm no doctor. I don't know how many pipes there are in the neck, so I don't know if that's true or not. Whether or not it goes down another pipe or not. I thought there was one
I
pipe
thought so.
called the esophagus, and the food or liquid goes down that into your stomach. That's what I thought. So when you drink something the quote-unquote wrong way, or you eat something quote-unquote the wrong way, it goes down the esophagus. It just, I don't know exactly how it gets stuck. I guess eventually it would push through. So people do choke every now and then, though. You choke on your own words every now and then, too. As humans, we do. So I guess it just, I don't know. But yeah, I've choked on water before.
Yeah. I think
yeah.
I inhaled, and then the next thing you know, I gave myself my own shower.
Well, there you go. You just diagnosed it for yourself. You inhaled and you were drinking, and you equate both of those things into the same problem, and you're going to get choking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to get
But
choking.
I'm alive. I made it. I
Choking.
did not require CPR or the Heimlich maneuver. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, that is good. We don't want that. No. But yeah, Ronnie, there's something I want to bring up here that has to do with tech distractions. Now, distractions are in just about every one of our lives. We all have plenty of products, plenty of devices out there that distract us. And heck, you could even go back before technology was prevalent in our society, and you'll have plenty. Maybe not as much as they are in our society now, but there were still distractions back 20 years ago. But companies say they're really hurting here. They're really hurting because they're apparently losing millions of dollars per year because of tech distractions. Whether people are checking their phones during meetings, they're checking the sports score, or they're maybe excusing themselves, stating they're going to the bathroom, but they're really going to take a phone call. These distractions are costing companies millions of dollars. Because of the lack of productivity from their employees. Now, call me naive here, Ronnie. Call me naive, but God forbid the CEOs, the managers, the presenters that are presenting the meetings or talking to their employees, God forbid they take the blame for anything. I understand I understand that distractions can limit one's productivity, but maybe you're not interesting to begin with. Maybe if you were interesting, maybe if you were engaging, maybe if I wanted to listen to what you had to say, or maybe if I were making a little extra money, I would be more engaged. There are other, I think, ingredients that play a part, and all of this, I think, should be added to the equation. Not only the fact that the employee's the bad guy by simply checking their phone. Yeah, we have these items at our fingertips here. We're going to check them. We're going to use them. And now, even after you leave work, you're still at work because at home you're working still. So if you could try and be as productive as you can via multitasking, I mean working and checking your BlackBerry or checking your email, whatever, at work, well, so be it. Something has to be done to maybe transition how productive an employee is at the in the job environment, in the work environment.
Well, what's funny with this research is that they had the same research that was done at Melbourne University just a few years back that provided a different result. That there was actually 65% of the companies out there wanted their employees to work with the social networking sites, to go be on Twitter, to be on Facebook, to answer emails and so forth, because it provided them with a 9% increase in their productivity because it provided an out. Look how many times you're at work, you're bored, you're waiting for your computer to start up, you have your phone there, different things are going on, and you get that lull time. You need, instead of going outside, taking a break or doing whatever, you're doing it right there. That is a little break in the monotony get to start to work over again. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Right. Now, this is here's some numbers for those of you to crunch if you want. The technology that these companies are saying are literally the cause of them losing so much money. Get this. Apparently the study here cost a 1,000 worker company more than $10 million a year. $10 million a year they're losing. Now, that's a lot of money right there. But it has nothing to do with the fact that the managers or the CEOs or the advisors or whatever, whomever, they're not doing their job maybe effectively, efficiently. Maybe they need to do something to engage their employees. After all, it is the manager's responsibility to make sure their workers are working. Now, if I were managing a company and I found out that there were losses, I would want to find out. I would want to get down to the bottom of it. And I wouldn't necessarily take away somebody's BlackBerry, Ronnie. I'll tell you that. No, I wouldn't. But companies feel that technology is distracting. Where do you stand here? Say you were managing a company. You found out there was a loss of $10 million for the year, and somebody had advised you that the technology were the culprit here. What would you do to resolve it? Would you take away the devices? Would you prevent them from using the devices in the workplace, or would you take the blame for being an inefficient manager, perhaps, or what would you do?
I wouldn't take away the BlackBerry. I wouldn't take away their little toys, as we want to say, because in the industry, the business industry, you're utilizing these devices, whether it be if you're on a social networking site. I mean, you're giving the company, especially if it's a small one. Let's just say it's a small company, and your employees have access to these sites or devices. Isn't that spreading the word about your company? Isn't that letting people know how productive your company actually is? They're not having to pay for advertisement, get the word out about who they are. But they need a break. I mean, if my people are not working and they're spending their time on the cell phone or whatever they're doing on this, then that becomes my responsibility. Then you have to determine, okay, who is the one that is taking the most of the money? Are they on the phone continually all the time? Are they ignoring the work? Somebody else is picking up the workload, thereby making somebody else work harder, and they're getting off scot-free. Okay, that person's going to have to go. But the one that's actually working, I wouldn't care if they got on a secured network or whatever, and even if it was on their own phone, to twit or whatever they're going to do for a period of time. I mean, not as long as it's done continually. If there's a lull in the time, then why not have them go ahead and do that? I mean, I'd rather have their mind set in a relaxed mode. It kind of gives them a relaxation point to where they're going to think and work better for me in the long run, rather than sitting there and be bored and they're just going to go blank. Well,
see, I understand what you're saying there, and obviously if they're using their cell phone or whatever device they're using, it doesn't necessarily mean they're advertising for the company. Somebody that's checking their email, that's not really going to benefit the company whatsoever.
But I mean,
well, they would have to email somebody about the company. If they're just emailing somebody about going to the game after work, that's not helping the company whatsoever. So there are ways that employees can benefit the company by utilizing the device or the tools that are on these devices via social media, via email, yeah, but it doesn't mean they're actually doing that. People that are employees that are checking their phones, their devices for scores, or they're just browsing the web, or they're checking the stock market, that's not helping the company whatsoever. So I just want to get that out of the way. That's not doing anything whatsoever to assist the company. Now, employees that are utilizing these devices because they want to keep their heads into in the digital realm, because there's plenty of information out there. How to kind of take in all of this information. There are books out there. There are people that speak. I featured people on my show, a session with JJ, talking about how we can literally take in the deluge of data out there. There's so much of it. And with us at school or at work, and you have all of this other work to take care of, plus on your own time trying to figure out what's going on in the world. How do you slice up the different parts of the day to focus on this, focus on that, focus on this, focus on that. So you try and kill two birds with one stone by doing it. Say you're in class, you're supposed to be listening to the lecturer, but you want to check the score of a game, or you want to email somebody or text. We all do it anyway. Then you got people or teachers even that are blaming technology for lower grades even. It's comparable to companies that feel that tech items are the cause for their losses here. Rather than, say, complaining about it, try and work around it maybe. I understand it's easier said than done, but I could tell you one thing right now, that if employees feel like they're needed, if employees feel like they're wanted, if they're making decent salary, their heads are going to be in the game regardless of whether they're actually looking at that phone. And chances are, if they are making an adequate amount of money, or if the manager is engaging, they're not even going to take that phone out if they feel that they are wanted, needed, or if they're making enough money. It has to be worth it to them. Now, you would think any job that's providing any sort of income would be enough, but employees that feel that they're undermined, well, they're going to take it out in ways they know how to take it out and that's by maybe utilizing the many distractions we have at our fingertips, maybe. Yeah.
Well, you have to take loyalty. I mean, employers, managers specifically, need to be able to increase the morale of their people, provide the incentive, you can't just have a continual work, repetitive atmosphere. By having that type of atmosphere, this is what you're going to expect. People get tired of the humdrum, same old, day after day drudge that we get ourselves into. So they're going to seek out other ways of getting out of that humdrum rut that you get stuck with in some of the jobs that are out there when they're so repetitive, or there is a lot of downtime in between that. Then the manager needs to figure out, okay, how are we going to increase the morale of this place, increase productivity, as well as to their employees' needs. Now, we have stated how many times that the big wigs of these companies are making an extraordinary amount of money, but yet they're blaming their very own employees that they are being outweighed, outnumbered, outpaid against these employees, and blaming them for their loss of profits. I thought you were being paid the big bucks.
Right, exactly.
To prevent that.
You're supposed to be doing your job if you're making the big bucks. Do your job and try and engage your employees. Listen, if I were the manager of a decent-sized company, whereas we had meetings and I were leading those meetings, I'll tell you what I would do. Rather than complain about the situation, rather than complain that the company is losing money, I would take the blame for it. Want to know why? Because it is my problem. It is my fault. I am the reason why. I didn't do my job to make sure my employees were doing their job. So you know what I would do? If we're in a meeting, clearly there's a problem. If somebody is not, say, listening to what I'm saying, you know what I do? I'll email exactly what I said during that meeting to each and every one of those devices. Heck, their heads are down there anyway. They might as well check my email. I'll find innovative and ingenious ways to try and go around the problem, because that's what a manager's supposed to do. A manager's supposed to find innovative and ingenious ways to get their company from point A to point B in a prominent direction. It's important to understand the ways to get around them. Now, there are plenty of ways. The genius that I am, I'm not going to go out. I'm just playing. The fact is, though, there are plenty of ways to get around this hump. And I think you just have to tackle this thing. You have to take the bull by the horns, and you have to get in front of it. You don't let it get in front of you. Rather than complain about it, rather than take these toys away from your employees, just like a teacher would take the toys away from their students. No, these employees aren't kids anymore. They should not have. If they're looking at the devices, combat the problem. Combat the problem in a way you know how to combat the problem as a manager, as the lead, the head of the company, because you're making the bucks. So do something. Do something about it. That's how I would. That's where I would start.
Yeah, big time. Because how many of these big-time employees are utilizing the employees' time off when they're not on the clock, they're at home?
Right.
And they're contacting them via these objects that they are so down on at work. So they're invading their private time.
Yep.
So you can't have both ways and then blame it on one person when you're doing the same thing. You need to utilize those objectives, whether it's through research, motivation, whatever it takes, but to blame that you're blaming your employees because of your actions.
All right. The study concluded here. Before we're going to get into your associations, I do want to give you some extra numbers here. Hey, get this. Listen to this, folks. More than half of United States workers waste an hour or more a day on interruptions. 60% come from electronic devices and emails, while the other 40% come from traditional sources such as phone calls or chats with colleagues. You know what? That 60% number, I don't doubt that. Actually, I thought that would be even higher. I don't doubt the distractions out there. I know there are people checking their phones. I know there are people checking their iPod touches. I know there are people that are doing all of this. It's how you can get around these How can you become innovative? How can you be an innovative manager while these distractions are in place? Also, 45% of workers say they can't go more than 15 minutes on average, folks, without an interruption. The average worker wastes 2.5 hours a week looking for documents missing in poorly organized electronic files. Well, you know what that one tells me right there? That either they, A, did not learn what they were supposed to learn in college, B, they don't have common sense, or C, their manager's a moron. The next one, only 68% of people always turn their phones off at movies. Well, we know that. Almost two-thirds will tune out of meetings to read emails, tweet, or take mobile phone calls. And half leave devices on at least sometimes when they go to bed. Well, those are just some numbers for you to digest. And you know what? I'm not doubting most of these. While some of them I feel are personal issues that really shouldn't be going on, like the second one. If you don't know how to organize something, well, you learn that in basic, elementary school, for gosh sakes, how to organize something. So, yeah, if you're working and you don't know how to organize, maybe you should take a class on how to organize. All right, we're going to get into your associations here, but before we do that, it is time to thank our sponsor. That is right. This portion of the 266th episode of Take Two is brought to you by Audible.com. We thank Audible for their generous support of the Take Two program as well as the Voices on the Net network. And listen up, because Ronnie and I have one heck of a deal for all of you you're not going to want to miss. Now, with this deal, which you don't have to spend a dime either to take advantage of this deal, you'll be able to take advantage of one free audiobook as well as a 2-week trial, a 14-day free trial to browse over 85,000 audiobooks, which is a pretty immense number right there. But the selection of audiobooks that Audible has to offer will provide you with entertainment. Take a break from your television. Take a break, or shall I say, from your computer even, watching movies or television shows. And why don't you listen to your media? I understand many of you may like to listen to your iPods or your MP3 players, your favorite talk shows even. Well, what if you were to what if there were a way where you could listen to your favorite books? You could relax on the couch, in your bed even, want to relax in your chair with your headphones on, enjoy a great book where the voiceover actors actually engage you. They had the dramatic and comedic feel that the stories that you enjoy reading traditionally deserve. The good thing is Audible allows you to test each book out, a preview, a great preview. Listen to them. Go to the, take it, rather than actually testing them out, how about you get your free book? You download a free book thanks to the Voices on the Net network, thanks to Take Two. Go to audibletrial.com/take2 right now. audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of your free book and your 14-day free trial. You will be glad you did. Ronnie's a member of Audible. I'm a member of Audible. I think you'll be glad to try it out. audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of this offer. As always, we thank Audible for their support of Take Two as well as the Voices on the Net network. All right, Ronnie, what do you have for us over there? You want to start us off with an association?
Yeah. Everybody knows. Have we ever all heard of the television series 24 starring Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah.
This is impressive. Good guy gone bad, gone good type mentality. Well, they've been actually keeping track on his kills. There is a list that has 4 requirements based on his kills on the television series.
Okay.
First, Jack must be the one who causes the death.
Okay.
Second, the death must be confirmed with video evidence.
Mm-hmm.
3, Jack must cause a death but not serious injury. And 4, the death must have occurred on TV show, not from novels, comics, or anything else.
Okay.
After all of that is said and done on the television series 24, Jack has accumulated 266 confirmed kills.
There you go. 266 kills. Wow, that's a lot of kills right there on your hands. He's collected a lot of scalps. Wow.
He had a lot of notches on his belt.
Yeah, seriously. I don't think. Well, then again, we know Jack Bauer's a kid. This is a series that 24 that I used to love watching. I really did. I used to watch it so much. And he's such a badass. He really is. Kiefer Sutherland is such an awesome actor anyway. But 266 kills. Wow, very cool.
Pretty cool.
I've got one for you. Listen to this. Now, in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is a crazy story, but listen to this. Authorities say a North Carolina man is facing drug trafficking charges. He's accused of accepting a delivery of 266 pounds of marijuana packed in a shipment of steel beams. 266 pounds of marijuana, accepting a shipment, a delivery. 266 pounds, that wouldn't throw off any alarms, any warning whatsoever, I guess. The Gaston Gazette reported that the pallet of a half dozen square inch beams had been welded shut and sent from Brownsville, Texas to a shipping company in Charlotte. Now, authorities say the drug was detected by a canine unit of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 266 pounds of pot. It's a lot of pot. I don't think that stuff weighs a lot anyway.
No.
It's very light, so 266 pounds, that must be a lot of pot. A lot of marijuana.
Very compact. But what is even more amazing about that is the fact that the media source is called Stoned.
Exactly. Wow. This is this is pretty crazy. The guy's name is David Hyde. Carson David Hyde, excuse me. He was arrested. He was sent to jail in Gaston County, and it was not immediately known if he had an attorney or not. But with 266 pounds of marijuana, I don't know how well he's going to fare. All right, Ronnie, do you have a couple of funny laws for us over there? I know you have at least one.
I have a 2-parter.
All right, well, you've got the mic.
This is Illinois' law, the first original law that was passed. This is what it states. It prohibits a number of things, one of which is that males cannot privately salute, let's just put it that way, in public. And also, they have prohibited females from dancing nude. So what happens with this law for prohibition period, the beer, the whole 9 yards? However, they actually took this one to the United States Supreme Court. And this was based on Tucker versus Illinois, which is 447 U.S. 266 in the year 1999, which was revised to where now women can now dance nude in public, respectful form of free speech, and they called it commerce institutionalized work. Imagine that. Thereby making the prohibition against nude dancing illegal. And they established, zoning laws throughout most of the states that you have around here, except the one thing that did not pass the United States Supreme Court: men still cannot salute in public.
Wow. I could see I could see the second one being even more realistic than the first one, but what a female does with it. Then again, I know the whole public indecency. You're going outside, you're going to show off your goods and so forth. May not be exactly kosher, but the first one, saluting, I don't see how that's a problem. Saluting, publicly
saluting is not what is in the law. I just kind of had to improvise on what was actually in the law.
So you're talking about giving somebody the finger, I'm assuming, right? Or
I'm talking about males who are not allowed to have a public erection.
Oh, I thought you meant salute. Give them the salute. Salute.
See the fingers? Yeah, salute. Yeah.
All right, I
So
understand.
they end up, but gets me if you got women that are dancing nude on the street or out in the open, and the number two is not allowed to happen.
Okay.
You bring it to the United States Supreme Court. One's okay, and the other one still is illegal. Now, how do they determine that? I don't know. That takes a special police force.
Interesting. Definitely one of your more crazy, funny laws. But we always look
they
forward to
will
having.
regulate.
Yeah, well, you know, you'll hear anything. You'll hear anything. Apparently, I mean, we don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But yeah. All right, we got to get into your stamp of reparation. We're running out of time here. So, Ronnie, give us what you've got.
Oh, I am disgusted, JJ. When we play the lottery, we expect to win big. We want to win big, and that gets us out from all of our little bills that we have out there, and we can live free, high on the hog, forever long we want to do it. However, a man in Michigan has decided, you know what? It wasn't enough for him. He won $2 million from the state lottery. His name is Leroy Fick of Bay County, Michigan. That he won these $2 million in the lottery. Now, he claims that all he got out of it after having to pay taxes was $850,000. Oh, poor him. Guess what he gets to do? He is still drawing food stamps and using the card, and he has all this money. He's driving around the expensive cars. He has a brand new home, living high on the hog, but he's still on food stamps. And why is he still on food stamps? Because Michigan, I guess, has not deemed the money that you win from the lottery as a form of income. I guess it's just a gift. However, if your family member dies, it leaves you something in their will to you. You have to pay a tax on that. If someone leaves you a home, you have to pay taxes on that. But if you win the lottery, all of a sudden now, that's exempt. And you still pay taxes on it, but it's exempt from being accepted as income. Isn't that amazing? You can be on disability and you go out there and make $5 or $6 doing something, they want to know about it. But apparently in Michigan, they don't care. And this guy doesn't care either. He doesn't think that he's doing anything wrong. He sits there and tells him, he is very, very rude, has no clue. He has this smirk on his face when you have the media that bounces on his doors because what he's doing is wrong. It's immoral. You have people out there that can't even get on food stamps, that can't even get help because they're making $1 or $2 over the limit.
Right.
And here he sits with $850,000 in his bank account. I am not impressed. But they have received some complaints on this. Maybe he'll stop. I don't know. Michigan has to change the law. Unfortunately, if they change the law, it's not going to work on him. But I'm surprised that this is supposed to be a federal supplied program, even though it's done by state handout. They still receive federal money to just claim that this is not an income. I'm sorry, but his checking account went way up there. To me, that's income.
That's greed. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Greed.
Make
it's like,
me rich.
$2 million. If I could make a little more, you know what? I could use it. Heck yeah. So it's greed. Exactly. You know, I heard. I wasn't sure if you were going to use this for your stamp because I was reading this story just earlier today, and then again, it doesn't surprise me though. It doesn't surprise me either. It's not surprising that he's still receiving benefits though. You know, God forbid he go forward and say, you know what, I have enough money. If you don't need them, don't take them. That's not his mentality though. It's greed. Clearly.
No,
it's greed.
It's his theory is it's out there for his taking.
Right.
If the law says he can do it, by God, he's going to do it, regardless of what's going on. But when you have a government out there that spends more money giving this out and not going after people like this, they spend very little on the fraud complaints, very little on fraud investigation, and this is why it continues to go on.
It's ridiculous. All right. Well, thank you, Ronnie, for your stamp of reparation on this 266th episode of Take Two. Got to go to the break, but we'll be back to give you more. We have a lot coming up. We're going to be talking about the resume. Yeah, the resume, or the structure of the resume, in other words. How has it changed over the past 20 years? Do businesses really need to receive resumes anymore when they have the internet? If you think about it, with the amount of content that's on the internet, what we place on the internet, personal information and so forth, or if you really wanted, for instance, a job, you would put certain information on the internet. How many people post videos on YouTube and then they're discovered by certain people? How has the resume changed? Are businesses being proactive, looking to the internet to find their next employee? Heck, they have a pretty large assortment to choose from, right? We're going to talk about that, as well as what would you do if you found $40,000 in the ceiling of your home? What would you do if you found $40 grand in the ceiling of your home? Well, one family gave it back to the previous homeowners. Yep. However, is there a statute of limitations on this? Say you found this money 5 to 10 years after you bought the house. No, you don't know. Even if it belongs to the family beforehand, that's 5-10 years after the fact. Do you keep it? Or do you keep it even if it's a day after you buy the house? Well, we're going to talk about this, as well as your blast from the past. Don't go anywhere, folks. For this 266th episode of the show, Ronnie and I return right after the break. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to episode number 266. That is right, 266 of Take Two, right here on the one and only Voices on the Net Network. Ronnie and I are back, and we appreciate all of you tuned in. It is greatly appreciated, and we really have a lot. We really have a lot to talk about. So, not going to waste much time here, but we do have to plug the network. So, if all of you tuned in right now would be so kind, would you please, as the great listeners, visit www.theonthenet.com, the Voices on the Net Network's website, where you will be able to find more information pertaining to the Voices on the Net Network. All you need to do is go up to the top of the website, where you will see the About link. You click it, you'll arrive at a web page providing you everything you need to know pertaining to the network in thorough detail. Great page. If you're new to the network, you don't know what the network's all about, that page is for you. That definitely. You could also check out podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, all available on demand for and at your very own convenience. Another great feature, one of the many at the website. Plenty of content all for you. You can check them all out, all of these great features out, by going to www.theonthenet.com. And as the music slowly stops. So, Ronnie, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm excited about this itinerary on the second half.
Me too. Then again, I'm always excited for every... You know, I really, when I'm solidifying, because every show, solidify every single episode itinerary, focus on what we're going to be talking about. A lot of things really are put into perspective when focusing on the itinerary. Now, Ronnie's a great help. She loads up a bunch of topics. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. It's very hard to come up. That's why we're a team. We come up with topics here to intrigue you, to intrigue those of you. Maybe a couple of you may enjoy one of the items that Ronnie recommends, but a majority of you don't. So we have to to draw a line, because clearly there are going to be some of you that don't enjoy some of the topics we talk about, while some of you immensely enjoy some of the topics we talk about. Very rarely will there be a topic that each and every one of you will enjoy as much as others. So it's important to find that balance, and that's difficult. That definitely is difficult in terms of locating topics for you that are tuned in, for those of you tuned in. So that is a challenge, but we do it for you, absolutely. And Ronnie's right. We have a couple of great ones that we're going to be going into during the second segment. The first one, I want to focus on this here. What would you do, Ronnie, if you found $40,000 in the ceiling of your home? And don't tell me you have a story, literally, where you found, like, a lot of money in the ceiling of your home.
I wish I did. Right? I found a refrigerator, not $40,000.
But if you think about it, what if you were to find that amount of money in your home? You just moved. All right. We'll go over a few scenarios here. We'll start it off with this one. You just moved to a house. A week later, you're doing the whole moving thing. You happen to head into the attic where you find $40,000. What do you do? Now, you just moved to this house. You just moved there. So clearly the homeowners that sold the house to you, or the people that last lived there, well, you know who they are, or you know that they're not far away. So you do you tell them? Do you call them up? Do you tell somebody, or do you keep the money? One family felt it was necessary for them to give the money to the family that lived there before them. How do you know the money's theirs? How do you know it wasn't the family before theirs? How do you know it wasn't the family before theirs? They're going to say, oh, yeah, it is mine. Or if there's some sort of identification associated with it, it's money. It's cash. So if there's no identification, do you keep the money? It's $40,000. Anybody could use it. Mm-hmm. Right?
How do you lose and forget? How do you forget that you have $40,000 in your attic?
Probably rich people. They don't really mind if they lose it or leave it behind. Clearly they didn't.
Well, if they don't mind it, then I guess it's mine. Because, when you sign over your house, you do the final walkthrough. You sign the final papers. So you're accepting the house as is at that moment. So anything in that house from the previous owners, they have just signed over to you. So you find something, it's yours to do whatever you want to do with. I mean, I commend them that they've done this, but, that $40,000 would have made a great dent in that mortgage that they're going to have. Mm-hmm. But how do you know that it belongs to these people? You don't know that. So who actually received the miracle? Was it the ones that actually sold the house? Now they got an extra $40,000 that may or may not be theirs, or a clean conscience that you've done something for somebody else and gave them back that may or may not be theirs.
Right.
I would be kind of tough because I bought the house. It was in my property, in my possession. You had a chance to get your $40,000 out of my ceiling if it was intentionally yours. Because I would remember if I put $40,000 in my ceiling.
Right. But
what were they saving it for?
Right. But you also have to put into perspective here that even for, I know, $40,000, you're thinking, how can anybody forget about it? But please place into perspective that how rich the family was before the family that lived there. Put that into perspective. Also, that people do forget things, even things that you would never think people would forget, including money, including furniture, including just anything. You'd be surprised what you'd find left behind from yourself forgetting because it just slipped your mind. Now, it seems very surreal that this would happen. And if you were to find $40,000, you would be tempted to keep it. These folks were not. They didn't even think twice about it. Now, you bring up the identification, or I brought it up earlier, but the identification factor. You don't have any identification. It's similar to finding a $100 bill of $100 on the floor somewhere or on the ground outside. You don't know who it belongs to, but if you ask somebody, hey, sir, ma'am, did you drop this? They're going to say, sure, I did, because there's no identification associated with it. So if there's no identification with the money, the family that lived there before, they're clearly more than likely going to say it was theirs. Clearly.
Of course they are.
I mean, they could act. Anybody could act if there's $40,000 at stake. You're going to act the best you can, right?
I would have asked them, did you happen to leave anything in the ceiling? Right. I mean, that itself would have brought back a reminder of the previous owners.
Yep.
That is a question I would ask them. I wouldn't tell them what I found in the ceiling.
Oh, absolutely.
I would just ask them, did you happen to leave something in the ceiling?
That's a good point you bring up, Ronnie. Yeah, that you would ask anybody, if you know there is money there, clearly you know the money's there. It's not going anywhere until you let it go. So the family that lived there before, you don't even bring up there's money. You're still a good Samaritan if they say, oh, yeah, I left money here. Did you find it? Oh, yeah. You're still a good Samaritan if you give it back.
Yeah.
But if you at least bring it up, they could act it out and say, listen, yeah, that's mine. If you don't bring it up, though, then you place the ball in their court. If they happen to say, you know what? Yeah, I left the money. Then you give it to them because clearly they now brought it up. The ball's in their court, remember. So, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you don't bring up the money right away.
Yeah, kind of let them kind of fall into it. Right. But then you have finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Remember that scenario?
Yeah, well, that too. Exactly. It's money, and that's the thing.
It's money.
It's not it's not like a check or a debit card where there's security. This is money. And now, these bills happen to be in a tub or not a tub, I don't know, what would you call it? Just a box of some sort.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was some sort of identification in these boxes. It looked like there were just bills, but In other words, these people are good Samaritans. You pledge them for doing what they did. Clearly, they did their good deed. $40,000 would help anybody, but you hope they didn't get scammed. You hope they didn't get screwed because these people that lived there before. Well, what about the people that lived there before them? Maybe it was their money. Right. Who knows? But would you figure maybe there are more than a couple, or maybe more than a family that are good Samaritans, including the people that lived there before them, that said, "Listen, yeah, that's really my money." Yeah.
True. They have the money was rolled up into, it appeared to be just like rolls of 20s and rolling it up as if it was like a savings account without drawing interest.
Well, there were 50s.
It's hard telling what they were coming from, but I would kind of throw a trapment out there and ask them first before I handed anything over, because if they couldn't come up with the right answer, no. It's mine.
There were $50 bills and $100 bills in the boxes. That's what they had in there. It equaled $40,000 stuffed in the ceiling in Utah. So
it's a good thing for no leaks, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That money would not fare too well in a leak or a flood, or water and money usually don't mix very well.
Yeah, but obviously there's no rat problem.
But just a crazy story right there. Imagine you walk into your new home and you find $40,000 stashed somewhere. It's like if you move somewhere, people like to stuff money in the walls or in the ceiling or someplace where you wouldn't think it would be. Check every place you can. Just check every random place in the house you just moved into. You never know what you'll find. And then again, if you're a good Samaritan and you decide to at least bring up that something was left behind to the family that lived there beforehand. Did you leave anything behind? And if they don't bring it up, then clearly it's not theirs, because they would remember. If you at least brought it up, they would at least remember clearly. So money, $40,000. How
many people do you think read this story and immediately went into their attics and started looking around?
I'm sure a ton. It's these stories that spur those types of moments where you're like, if it's possible for these people, maybe it's possible for me. Imagine what I could do, and imagine how many people are even though these people, the family that gave the money back to the family that lived there beforehand, even though they're good Samaritans by doing a good deed, imagine how many people are calling them stupid and dumb and so forth because it's money. But again, you pledge them for what they did. All right.
Yeah.
It's a good story. It's a good-hearted story, though. I'd like to hear about that. All right. We're going to move on to the next item on the itinerary. This is going to be a good one here. The resume. How has the structure of the resume changed over the last 20 years? You think about it. Usually, you want a job. You fill out a resume, and you send it to the jobs you're interested in working at. Hopefully, the managers read the resumes, and they interview you, and you get the job, and you're good to go. Traditionally, that's how it's done. But with the internet, has the structure of the resume changed to a point where businesses now can be proactive and look themselves? They don't need to receive resumes from their potential employees. They go on the internet themselves. They have an assortment to choose from. We're going to talk about this here. How has the resume changed? How are businesses going forth with hiring people now? You have quite a choice, and we're gonna delve into this quite a bit. Hear what Ronnie has to say too. Also, the blast from the past coming up at the end of the show. But before we get into the next item, it is time to thank our sponsor. Yep, that is right. This portion of the 266th episode of Take Two is brought to you by Audible.com. And we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program as well as the Voices on the Net network. Now listen up, Ronnie and I have one heck of a deal for you here. With over 85,000 audiobooks to choose from. It's a lot of books. Always adding new ones each and every day. Such a great service. Truly the best on the net. Audible. You'll receive one free audiobook as well as a 14-day free trial, a 2-week trial to browse the selection of audiobooks offered at Audible. And if you're an avid reader, clearly you can't say no to this. What do you have to lose? You don't have to spend a dime. Now, you may want to put the book down, the traditional book down, and pop on those headphones. More than likely, you have the headphones on anyway right now if you're listening. But you put the traditional book, the paperback book down, and try out Audible. Listen to these books. Listen to your book. Listen to your book. See how you like it. It's an experience all in itself, the auditory experience. And the voiceover actors, the voiceover artists, they make these books very interesting. They really do. They will engage you. They'll add that drama, that dramatic, that comedic feel to each book. They'll, well, of course, complement each book with whatever tone they're utilizing. I'll tell you, you got to try it out. At least try it out, because Ronnie's been a member for some time. I've been a member for some time. We enjoyed immensely. I think you will too. audibletrial.com/take2 is the link. audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of this offer. 1 free audiobook, a 14-day free trial to browse the selection of audiobooks offered. You'll be glad you did. And even if you don't want to continue to be a member, after the 14 days, cancel your subscription. You keep the free book. You keep the free audiobook. Try it out. audibletrial.com/take2. As always, we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network. All right, Ronnie, let's chat some more here. How has the resume, or the structure of the resume, changed over the past 20 years here? Now, rather than sending a traditional resume to a job, or you go from job to job to job to job, you do it online. You fill out a resume online and you send it electronically. Is your resume getting read or being read by potential managers? You're being proactive yourself. How are, may you say, businesses being proactive here? Say you're the manager of a company and you're looking for a couple employees. Are you going to request resumes be sent to you, or are you going to look for exactly what you're looking for online? You have quite an assortment. I figured we would bring this up because there was an interesting article that I read, and also this had come to mind because of how sources like YouTube have spurred big-time careers for Journey's lead singer, Arnel Pineda, Justin Bieber, Rebecca Black. These are all people that have made out great from sources on the internet, YouTube and social media and so forth. So I want to hear what you have to say about this, your opinion about how the resume has changed. And if you were a manager, how would you go forth with this? Or do you still feel the resume has a bit of merit, even in a digital age, such as what we live in right now?
It has somewhat of merit based on the keywords, because now you have alternative measures to where you don't have to put out as much advertisement before when you put out help wanted into the papers and you get a mass collage of all these people that come in that most of them probably are not qualified. It's just the fact that they want a job or they want to work with your particular company, but maybe they're not what you're looking for. You're kind of limited on that issue. But if you go to sites like, Career Builder, if you go to monster.com, that's a dual source for both employers and potential employees. So the potential employee could put on their resume and use keywords and what they think that describes themselves, the type of worker that they are. The employer can actually sign on and look through the resumes based on keywords on these resumes and what they are actually looking for.
Well, yeah, but Ronnie, understand this. That's noting the fact that I brought up traditionally, or the same traditionally online, posting your resume electronically and sending it to employers, or even posting it to sites like Career Builder or Monster.com. How about how the infrastructure has changed? For instance, I say register your actual name.com. Name, whatever your name is, your first name, your last name.com. You register it. You have yourname.com. You utilize that page. You create an about you. You create a website about you. That right there, and I think this is possibly the direction we could be going in if we're proactive ourselves, because that the competition is fierce out there anyway. Sites like Career Builder, Monster.com are out there. You have these sources, and employers know that too. They're going to go to these sources. That's trivial stuff. That's trivial. That's a trivial situation there. They know what they're going to do. But say you have people that are, and you remember, websites are based on keywords too. You search your favorite keyword in Google, and you search for. You pop up the website with whomever utilizes those keywords, for instance. So people that use their name.com, They have an about me, how to contact them. The employers are looking. They're being proactive themselves. They don't necessarily have to stick to only employ these websites that allow people to post resumes, but allow the employer to be proactive themselves and the employee to be proactive themselves to do what they both want. The employer wanting to hire, the employee wanting to find a job. Get your information out there. I understand, privacy concerns and so forth, but the same goes for these websites such as Career Builder and say Monster.com. Make a website, post your information. Managers take that, their action, look for whomever they're looking for. Hopefully this benefits you in a positive way, because I think this is a great way, and I think this is a big part of the internet, because we all want identity somewhat, because we have an identity. We can put it out there. The internet is widespread, and businesses can utilize the benefits of the internet, become proactive themselves by looking via search engines, and there pops up your website with all of the information you've posted on your website right there, and a way to contact you.
Yeah, true. But also, how many employees, though, are going to employers are going to take this type of time to go searching on the internet?
Why?
You think the word should come to them?
Why not?
You have via word of mouth. You have versus them actually going on the internet.
You have a widespread assortment of people, Ronnie, rather than just confined to, say, Monster.com or CareerBuilder.com. They're looking for keywords. That's the first step. So what are you saying taking the time here? They type in a keyword. They type in a couple of keywords. Everything that pertains to those keywords are going to be sorted in fashion via whatever search engine you're going to be using. So that has already been narrowed down there. Now they choose and pick. Now that's why I brought up how this may not currently be the case right now. That's why I'm bringing up how can we be proactive? The employers themselves are going to be proactive because they already do this. We know that. You can't tell me that there aren't many managers out there that don't search the internet for potential employees. There's a widespread assortment out there. For instance, you have so many podcasts popping up, netcasts popping up. Insert in hopes that maybe a big company, unless they want to develop it themselves, but say they're doing this netcast, they're doing many shows, and some big company listens to the show. They're like, these guys are good. We offer them a job. There you go. They've just went from point A to point B. They didn't send a resume out, but they have an identity on the internet. Moving in that direction via creating a website using yourname.com will allow you to have that identity online, and then managers do their part to search for keywords. You have the keywords on that website, yourname.com, and then boom, 2 and 2 equals 4 there. So it allows both to get what they want there. Now, who knows what it's going to be like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but imagine an infrastructure like that. Everybody has their own name.com, and you post information about yourself. You don't even have to have yourname.com. You could have any website, really. As long as you have your name keyworded on that website, they're going to find it. So you can do your part. They could do their part. Imagine an infrastructure like that, where you don't have to focus on filling out paperwork, creating resumes. It's all there already. Your work is done. Now it's just up to the employer to search. And if you get a call or a couple of calls here, boom, that's it. And remember, if you found a job, you could post on your website, I've already found a job. Until you either leave or you're fired, you let the world know that you're looking for a job again. So I think that's a great way. I think it's excellent. When I thought of this, I was like, wow, this could be really powerful.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you got a lot of different types of ideas because you have to stand out above the rest. And that's why I was talking about word of mouth. And of course, on the website, you can always, on a regular old resume, you were limited on space. You were limited on what you could add. And it was very informal. It was just the basic skills, very little about you, right, per se, as to who you are. There was no pictures. There was nothing that indicated any kind of livelihood that you were a person other than a number on a resume.
Right.
This instance, though, as you bring up, actually opens up the doors to a whole different aspect of it, because you could put a lot of things out there that regular resumes do not ask for, that end up getting asked maybe in an interview, or maybe an employer hasn't even thought of, that you can actually present a skill or a talent that you have that can better the environment that the employer is looking for. That's a lot broader experience than what we've always noted in the past, because you have so much more advancement on the internet. You can share it with one click with how many people on the social media sites to go through and just spread it around the internet. So it's very easy to be known via 100 people or 1,000 people or even beyond that, especially thanks to YouTube. You can put yourself out there. So I kind of like this idea.
Right. It's say a more contemporary way to get your name out there. And you brought up a good point where resumes limit you to what you can post on there. Remember, text is not the limit on the internet when it comes to creating a website. And there are so much more you can do. There really is so much more you can do to get your identity out there. Videos, pictures. Pictures say a lot about somebody. Videos, sound. You get all of this out. My identity, I have nothing to hide. I mean, my name is out there. I mean, I'm publicized. I've broadcasted alone to over 5 million people. I have nothing to hide. I'm a voiceover artist. I have my demos out there. These are all ways for people, and they're all keyworded, for people to find me, and if they find me, they can contact me. They contact me, I get a job, boom, that's it. And obviously there are plenty of people doing that, but I'm talking strictly on a resume basis here. Now, clearly, listeners that may just be tuning in right now are probably saying, well, JJ, where have you been? There's social networking, Facebook, Twitter, or Facebook specifically. Yeah, there is Facebook, but you also have the privacy factor, whereas employers would have to friend you, and then boom, boom, boom. You have a website with keywords. Your employer doesn't have to friend you. They search for keywords via Google or their favorite search engine. They're going to find what they're going to find. If you're keyworded, boom, they find you. You find a job that way rather than sending a resume in. And you could add a lot more to your website. I think this is a brilliant way. I think this is really the future, and I think we know, based on social media, we know employers use social media to search for their potential employers or employees. Obviously, we know that. I'm just saying, try to make it even easier for the employers, because it's not only benefiting the employer, it's also benefiting you too. You want a job. You want a job too. They want to find somebody. You want to find somebody that wants somebody. So, you have to meet halfway there. And you doing your part by putting your information out there on a website, because if you're going to make a website, how many people have blogs? They blog about their lives. How valuable do you think that is to a boss, a potential employee, that content that you're posting every day about you? They're learning about you because you're posting valuable information about yourself. So now they get a peek into your life. And while some of the content you may not want your boss to see, unfortunately, you can't help that unless you don't post it. So, or you privatize it, whatever. You make it private. But if you create a website with your information on it, and you're looking for a job, blah, 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 I think this could be very powerful. I think it really can.
Yeah, because the internet can make or break you, depending on how you're going to use the internet. Such as you suggested as social media when you think of Facebook. That you go on there and you have the friends that are on there, look what kind of information is on those types of sites. Is that going to be a negative or a positive for you? That's something you need to be aware of when you're on the internet, especially when you talk about blogs or you're posting to a site, maybe you're posting to a video, and you have that alternate person of yourself to come out there to where you're not in that professional mode. You don't think that those actions are going to come back and haunt you, and very well, because you can find anybody at any time, what they are, who they are, where they are, what they're up to on the internet, just by clicking a name. Just type it in their name. You'd be amazed at what you can find on the internet about somebody.
Oh, absolutely. It just, you hear a bunch of horror stories about resumes being lost when you send them to job, from job to job. You can negate that process by doing your own part. By doing your part by posting all of the information you would post, plus more, on a website, and having the manager doing their part, searching for what they're looking for. Because clearly, with so many people on the internet, plenty of websites that really tell anybody their life story. That's detailed information that managers want to know before asking them to come in for an interview. All right. I wanted to get into that, though. We do have to head to your blast from the past on this 266th episode of Take Two right here on the Voices on the Net Network. Ronnie, what do you say we take this time machine here? We take this time machine here and we head into the past.
I'm ready. Let's see where we land on.
Yeah, let's see where we land on. We're going to find out, though. So here you go, folks. Your blast from the past. Enjoy. Kids showering after gym class, which means they're probably very smelly and sweaty. But, all right, if you want to, quote-unquote, bring this tradition back, there are ways to do it, all right? All right? Mm-hmm. People are nervous to be in front of their peers naked, okay? They are, especially the schools that are forcing these students to shower, okay? I don't like to be forced to do something. I don't. And to be forced to shower in front of other people naked, I think I'm on the same page with the students that are against this. I really am, because, you shouldn't have to be forced to it.
Right.
First off, a school day is only so long, and most of the times, gym class tends to be in the afternoon. All right? There are times where it is in the morning. However, this is a clause or a ploy where I'm trying to figure, why isn't this dealt with in the afternoon? Why don't they have gym class in the afternoon, towards the end of the day? So they have gym, then they are sent home, and they can take a shower at home if they'd like. I want to hear what you have to say about this regarding the little to no participation anymore after gym class with kids showering.
Well, look at you got the cell phones even in the locker room of undressing yourself in front of
yeah.
When you talk about being a teenager, you are self-conscious, whether or not you're developing late, maybe you developed early, maybe there's some kind of scars, disfigurement, whatever it is. We're self-conscious of that. I was self-conscious of that. And you're always being judged, but then you're afraid now because when I was in high school, cell phones were not allowed, within the building. If you even were caught with one, you were in so much trouble. But that now, it just seems more probable that you have a high chance of being on someone's list of hatred to get back, as the bullying, as you brought up, that could go all over the internet, from one student to the next student. This, because with me, my gym class actually, JJ, was in the morning because we had so many students, so my time period would end up in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't go through the whole entire day without, But it was even worse, knowing that you have, but since it was forced, everybody was forced to do it, but it was so embarrassing because you didn't know what the outcome of it was. Granted, if you're naked there, no one's looking, but if you have a gym teacher that's watching and you're not even aware, because you see the cameras of the schools, they're not actually in the locker room or in the shower area, but you see them panning your direction. You do get a little bit concerned about what are they looking for? Why is this mandatory? I don't think it should be mandatory on the students. If it is, then you need to supply separate stalls, separate showers, separate places to get, dressed, whatever the thing is. Because, there is a lot of bullying that we've touched on the show many, many times that continues. And this just makes it worse because that's when you're at your most vulnerable, I think.
Right.
Especially in high school. You're exposed to everybody. You don't know what's going to go on. You don't know how that's going to be attracted to the students. I mean, to me, I think that is horrible.
Well,
I would rather go the entire day without a shower and wait until I went home before I would do that.
Well, personally, I
would think about it again today.
Well, personally, I feel that teachers, staff members, they are not aware, as well as they think they are, of the stigma. Okay, those at school that are these students are nervous to shower in front of other students, all right? That you may have a beef with this student. Another student may have beef with that student. And then when they are showering in front of these students, it becomes a hostile situation, all right? Showering in front of other students. Yeah, I went back to that discussion there. Great discussion, which really makes you think because... you date back, say you're out of school, way out of school, you're an adult even, and you date back to when you were in school. How many times did you feel uncomfortable when you showered or in school? Or maybe you didn't feel uncomfortable. Maybe you were used to it because it was really second nature. It was you did it every day. You were in gym class, so it depends, I guess. So.
Yeah, the old days, huh?
The old days, yeah.
How they kind of bring that out at us.
Yeah. All right, that's all the time we have, folks, for this 266th episode of Take Two. Hope all of you enjoyed it. You know how much Ronnie and I enjoy being here. We're going to do it again for you the next episode. Do it all over for you. A new itinerary, new topics, all for you. You know how much we love all of you, and we'll be back before you even have the chance to miss us. We promise. God willing, but we promise. We're here. If we're here, well, yeah, we're going to do it for you. Until next time. We sadly have to say so long for now. Much love to you all. Bye-bye, folks.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.